Hi, Grandma here, reading The Iron Ring by Lloyd Alexander. And I'm going to be beginning with chapter 35, The Palace of Illusions. As a little review, Shisha, the snake, has reappeared and killed the Rakshasa, the evil spirit, who wanted the ruby that they were returning to Jaya for Garuda. Hashkat, though, has been bitten by the evil spirit, which apparently it's a very bad venom. And Garuda has found out that they are very close to getting to Mahapura. The Palace of Illusions. Hashkat slumped against the cave wall. The monkey's face was drawn, his eyes sunken. Tamar, with Shisha slithering after, knelt beside him. "What? The overgrown angleworm?" Hashkat raised his head a little and grinned painfully. "Still after me? I've heard of bearing a grudge, but not as far as this." "He killed the Rakshasa," Tamar said quietly. "He came to help us." "Well, in that case, what took him so long? If that wiggler had a shell, he'd be a snail." Hashkat tried to regain his old impudence, but his voice faltered and he shuddered violently. Miri cradled the stunned Garuda, glanced questioning at Adhikavi. Rajaswami whimpered in distress. Hashkat curled him into himself, his chin sinking to his breast. "Strong poison," Adhikavi said aside to Tamar. "I have no antidote. Nothing I can do for him. This is beyond my skill." "Not beyond mine." Shisha spread his hood. "I carry the means to heal him. Take the gem I wear. Hold it to his wound. The venom of the Rakshasa is fatal. It will take all the power of my jewel to work against it. After that, the stone will be worthless. Use it carefully. It will serve this one time only." "You'd give up the jewel he tried to steal from you?" Tamar said. "At the riverside, you'd have taken his life on account of it." "Now I give him his life," replied Shisha. "My father pardoned this foolish creature. Can I do less? The Nagaraja reproached me for letting wrath drive out reason and compassion. His words have weighed on me ever since. As I wish to heal this frivolous monkey, so I wish to heal my own dharma." Prince Shisha lowered his head. Tamar took the jewel from the Naga's brow, and as Shisha instructed, set it on Hashkat's arm. Hashkat lay motionless. Tamar feared that the poison had spread too far and had already claimed the monkey's life. The sapphire's blue inner flame dimmed little by little and then winked out. "It is done," Shisha said. "The stone is useless. Cast it away. If it has failed, I have nothing else to offer." Hashkat stirred and opened one eye. "What's that crawler done now?" He sat up, peered at his arm, as whole as if it had never been wounded. "Saved an impudent monkey is what he's done," Miri said, smiling. Hashkat popped his eyes at Shisha. "In spite of it all?" He bowed his head and pressed his palms together. "Namaste, Prince of the Nagaloka. I am grateful. You're a fine fellow." He stuck his tongue out and grinned wickedly. "For a royal wiggler." "Namaste, O flea-ridden tree climber," Shisha replied with a fond glint in his eye. "May your life be as long as your insolence is great." The Naga folded his hood and turned to Tamar. "King of Sundari, our quarrel is over. Go your way. Guard the ruby well. Its power may be greater than any of us know. I dare stay no longer. Without the protection of my jewel, my own life is at risk. Namaste." The Naga prince heeled his coils to the edge of the pool. Hashkat scrambled after him. Wait, as you saved my life, at least I owe you the truth. I really did mean to give back that jewel. By then, Prince Shisha had slid into dark waters and vanished. Garuda, meantime, had begun coughing and wheezing in Mary's arms. Set me down, Shema, I can hardly breathe. You shouldn't be here in the first place, Mary said. I told you to fly off. Well, I didn't, Garuda snapped. Leave my friends in danger? What kind of eagle would I be? I thought what I wanted to do. Garuda sniffed and hesitated. He gave Mary a sidelong glimpse. I was going to give that Rakshasa the ruby. That's all he wanted. He'd have let you go. Oh, I very much doubt it, said Rajaswami. You can't bargain with those fellows. They never keep their word. Even so, Garuda said, I thought I'd try. You really have done that for us, Mary said. Garuda ducked his head, shuffled his feet. Well, yes, no matter how much aggravation you cause me, all right, if you must know, I'm fond of you all, even the monkey. Ruby Shema, a shiny stone, who cares? You meant to save our lives, Tamar said. We owe you. You can be sure. Garuda shook his head. You owe me nothing. The ruby's safe? Where? Well, there was an accident. Garuda coughed and snorted. It stuck in my craw. I swallowed it. Ate it? Hashkat slapped his teeth. You silly rag mop! Come over here. Open your beak. I'll fish it out. Get away, Garuda squawked. Leave it alone. At least I know where it is. The world turned green. So green it dazzled him. From the time they left the cave the next morning until Adhikavi led them on their final descent, Tamar had seen only grim black outcroppings of bare stones, glaring stretches of empty snowfields, pinnacles of ice. Once as they inched their way downward, the Sutta had been obliged to chip footholds in what looked like a frozen waterfall. Then the valley burst around them with sun-swept woodlands and rich meadows, and ahead, as Garuda had told, the walls and soaring towers of Mahapura. Hashkat's jaw dropped. Rajaswami stared, eyes full of wonder, and murmured, Who could have imagined? Yes, this is indeed the realm of the great Maharaja. And so at the end, it's true. Tamar took Mary's hand. Not a dream after all. I wish it had been. How Jaya means to deal with me. Oh, he'll have to deal with me too, Mary said. He expected a Kshatriya. I don't think he reckoned on a gopi. Garuda, impatient, had flown ahead. With Mary beside him, Tamar walked reluctantly through the gates before him, stretched tree-lined avenues, parks, lakes, and promenades. Do you see those crowds? Hashkat frowned and scratched his head. Astonishing! I see none, Tamar said, looking where Hashkat gestured. That's what's astonishing, said Hashkat. Nobody, nowhere. Where are the people? This place is empty. The city of a Maharaja? There's not even a monkey. Curious, but easily explained, Rajaswami suggested. They've all gone to, to some local festival. Hush, Mary put fingers to her lip. I don't see anyone, but I hear them. As Tamar listened, voices rose from all sides, water sellers and hucksters crying their wares, merchants haggling, the laughter of children at play, all the sounds of a busy capital. What is this place? He whispered. Where have we come? A many-towered palace loomed in front of them, the gates open and unguarded. More perplexed than ever, he crossed the wide courtyard, as empty as the rest of the city. Where are Jaya's warriors? Chariots, elephants. Tamar stepped past the tall portals into a corridor stretching as far as the eyes could see, glittering as if paved and walled with crystal. He took a pace forward, then shouted a warning. The ground had opened up in front of him. He stared into a shimmering pool at the bottom of a steep gorge. He stumbled back. Miri was calling to him. He turned in the direction of her voice, only to collide with a wall. A dozen figures sprang up, roughly garbed, their faces wind-hardened and sun-blackened. He reached for his sword, forgetting the scabbard was empty. He flung up his arms. The figures did likewise. Only then did he realize he was seeing himself in the surrounding mirrors. Another corridor opened. He plunged through. Miri was there. He ran to her. Hashkat and Adikavi had halted further on where the passage abruptly ended. Rajaswami, bewildered, turned first one way and then another. The palace is a trap, Tamar burst out. Jaya's caught us in it. He stared around him, raised his clenched fist, and shouted, "Show yourself, Jaya! Do you claim my life? Then let me see you, king to king, man to man." "You waste your breath," said Adikavi, coming to Tamar's side. "If I see the world as it is, I also see the world as it isn't. This is Maya, illusion, nothing more than shadows in our minds. Our eyes are telling us lies, and we're believing them." "We're still caught," Tamar exclaimed. "We can't get out." "Shadows, only shadows," Adikavi said. "Why fear them? Do as I tell you. Pay them no heed. Don't even look. Close your eyes to them. Walk straight on, wherever it leads." Hashkat and Rajaswami had come to join them. With Miri's hand in his, Tamar stepped blindly ahead, expecting at every moment to lose his footing and topple into a void. When he ventured to open his eyes, he was at the doorway of what was clearly a royal chamber. He glimpsed couches and draperies, richly ornamented silken screens in front of polished ebony. "Stay back," he warned Miri and the rest. "Jaya wants my death, none other. But I mistrust him. He already tried to deceive us. All our lives could be in danger." Before Miri could protest, he stepped across the threshold. He glanced hastily around, took another pace into the chamber. Near a pile of embroidered cushions, he saw a table holding dice, cup, and a board for the game of Aksha. That was the game they had played at the beginning of the book. A figure in white robes and a shawl stood looking out one of the tall casement windows. The man turned and beckoned. Tamar found himself face to face with the Chandala. Very interesting. So why do you think the Chandala's there? Remember back when we were talking about the Chandala, he just seemed so wise and so insightful and wanting to change Tamar. I was suspicious then that the Chandala was not all that he seemed to be. And then after they had the battle, Tamar went back to see Chandala, and he wasn't there. He disappeared. So hopefully we're going to find out in this last chapter, 36, Jaya. "So you're here, are you?" the Chandala said. "You found your way after all." "And you?" Tamar's hands outstretched and started toward him. He stopped short. The Chandala was smiling, but something in his voice and bearing puzzled him. "I looked for you at the burning ground. I was afraid you'd come to harm. You'd gone. Here? With Jaya? Where is he?" "You see him. I am Jaya." Tamar stared. "This is more illusion, trickery," he burst out. "What mockery is this? Who are you? What are you?" "As I told you." "Why do you lie to me?" Tamar flung back. "No, the one who came to me in Sundari was a king, a warrior, an arrogant, pitiless Kshatriya. No man of kindness or compassion, not you, not you. Well, call me a liar if you will. It is the truth, nevertheless. Do you doubt me? Shall I repeat the verses your Acharya recited, the hawk and the sparrow? Not so? Shall I tell you the numbers we threw when we played Aksha? Tell me what you please. I saw what I saw. So you did, because you yourself was a Kshatriya. You could not have imagined me as anything else. Would you have welcomed a Chandala to your palace then? Would you have agreed to my little game and given your word as one warrior to another? Rajaswami and Darshan were there, all my courtiers. Oh, you thought so. They were not with you. I caused them to sleep soundly. I laid Maya on you. There were only the two of us. A hunter challenged you in the forest, did he not? Jaya went on, and you shot an arrow that set in motion all that followed with Hashkat and Garuda and the snake. I was the hunter, the same who tended Garuda and Akka when their need was greatest. This was when they had sent Garuda and Akka back to get Darshan to help fight the battle. And they were injured, and a hunter took them in. I wondered if it was the same hunter. Jaya broke off. During this, Miri and the others, paying no heed to Tamar's warning, had come into the chamber and had been listening as much taken aback as Tamar himself. Namaste, Miri. Jaya put his palms together. You have endured much for the sake of your love. Your spirit has only grown more beautiful. And you, Sutta, I'm glad to see you safe and well. What a clumsy thief you were. Do you recall a spider whose life you saved? I can tell you now, it was I. An insolent youth named Hashkat mocked a wandering rishi who turned him into a monkey. Jaya said, I was that rishi, and you, Brahmana, for your cherished colleague, I was the sage who offered him knowledge when he intended to eat me. He's talking about the bear. I have been all those things and many other. Jaya said, I am as I choose to be. I must believe you, Tamar said after a long moment. Truth beyond truth. As Jambavan told me, it wasn't a dream, it happened. We gambled. Life against life, I lost. Darshan reproached me when I left Sundari. He told me I knew nothing of the world. I know a little more than I did. I've seen kings betray their word, noble Kshatriyas break their warrior's code, honor meaningless dharma forgotten. The way of the world. There are other ways, as a Chandala told me on the burning ground. He was right. I've seen as much goodness as evil. In Sundari, I told a Maharaja I was not his dog, nor am I now. But even a dog's life is as precious as a king's. Death, I've seen my fill. I fear and hate it. I look at my own and see it wears the mask of a friend. Even so, I defy you. Once I'd have accepted death as a price of a game, for the sake of honor. Not now. A fool's wage. A man does not take his life on a throw of a dice. Tamar looked squarely at Jaya. Do you claim my life? You won't take it easily. I'll stand against you with all my strength. Tamar held up his hand. Your emblem. It binds me no longer. I give it back to you. In one motion, he tore the iron ring from his finger and flung it on the gaming table. The cup overturned, the dice scattered. In a voice half amused, half pitying, Jaya said, Who spoke of taking your life? Is that what you understood? No, I only said that your life was mine. Destroy it. Why should I? You've done as I hoped. You hoped? For what? Even I do not know all the paths of karma, Jaya said. I knew only this. Had Nahusha triumphed, his lust for power would have goaded him to conquer kingdom after kingdom. Yours would not have been spared. I warned you of wild dogs on the hunt. Your Gopi's village would have fallen to him as well. Your people, Ashwara's people, all would have been no more than Nahusha's slaves. I gambled, Jaya went on, that you might prevent it. The stakes were higher than any game of Aksha. Are you telling me you foresaw this? Tamar rounded on him furiously. Had you no other way to stop him? Only bloodshed and destruction? You caused it? You let it happen? Why then choose me? Choose? Jaya raised an eyebrow. Do you suppose you were the only king to play Aksha with me? There were others I visited before you, Jaya continued. Some declined the game, and I went on my way. Of those who lost, some refused to honor their pledge. Others tried to keep their word. They lost their lives in the course of their journey, or gave up before it ended. Your kingdom was the last, the least at which I stopped. Take no offense, Jaya added. You simply happened to be available. No more than that? No more than that at the beginning. At the end, you have become a great deal more. So many questions began jostling into his mind that Tamar was at a loss which to ask first. Meanwhile, an eagle had glided through the casement. The bird's feathers shone golden, glistening in the sunlight as it flew straight to Mary's shoulder. I'm sorry I couldn't stay with you, Lot, the bird said. Did you ever have a ruby stuck in your craw? It hurts. I needed my master's help right away. Garuda, Mary cried, is that you? Shema, who else? It's him. I know that Shema anywhere. Well, you're beautiful, said Mary. You look not like yourself at all. On the contrary, he looks exactly like himself, Jaya said. As once again, so he is again. I admit he was a pitiful sight. I took out the stone, no harm done. Garuda bobbed his shining head. I owe you, all of you. I too, Jaya said. His task was even more important than your own. He opened his hand. The ruby lay like a flame cupped in his palm. The fire flower, as you call it, has come back to me. Had it not, King of Sundari, the consequences would have been far worse than anything Nahusha could have done. Even the Nagaraja did not guess its power. The Rakshasa who stole it from me understood it very well. He had not learned how to make it serve him. In time, he would have done so. Then all would have been lost. The fire flower is a gem of death and of life, Jaya went on. Whoever learns to use it can, within an instant, call down death on anyone he chooses, or, if he so wishes, summon the dead to life. With it, the Rakshasa would have held the world and all its creatures in bondage. And I carried such a gem, Tamar murmured, never knowing what it was. Just as well you did not. Even to suspect its nature would have been a temptation to use it. Such power is too great for anyone to hold. Now you have it again, Mary said. It's in safe hands. No, it's not, Jaya said. When it was in my possession, even I found myself drawn to use it. Its flame whispered and beckoned. My heart hungered for it. I told myself I would make it serve only good. Yet I knew in time I might not be able to tell good from evil and do evil, telling myself I was doing good. I sent Garuda to regain it for me. Jaya fixed his eyes on the fire flower. The man's face, Tamar said, clouded with regret close to grief. It draws me still. I do as I must. He set the ruby on the flagstone floor and trampled it under his heel. The gem remained unbroken. How can this be? Jaya murmured. Have I no strength to shatter it? There was fear in the man's voice that Tamar had never heard before. Jaya stared down at the fire flower. Does a hidden corner of my heart yet wish to keep it and holds me back at the end from destroying it? Jaya put his palms together and pressed them to his brow. May I do this in all purity without misgivings. May this truly be my will fully and completely. Jaya drew a long breath and again trampled the gem with all his might. Tamar threw up his hands to shield his eyes against the sudden, blinding shaft of crimson flame. It shot upward, whirled in a blazing cloud, then burst and filled the chamber with jagged streaks of scarlet. That same instant, Tamar felt the ground heave and shudder beneath his feet. A long, sickening tremor, as if a crack had opened in the earth. Wind shrieked in his ears. He flung himself toward Mary and held her as the chamber seemed to tilt askew. Everything blurred, turned fluid and shapeless. His heart pounded. Each beat took forever, as if time itself had ripped apart. Then, within the moment, the room was clear and sunlit again. Jaya was standing, head bowed. Of the fire flower, the only thing that remained was a little heap of red powder. It is done. Jaya, after some while, looked up. I am free of it. Leave me. I wish to be alone with my meditations. Our dealings with each other have well ended. Return safely, all of you. I promise your journey will be quicker and gentler than the paths that brought you here. Take with you my love and gratitude. You, Sutta, what may I offer you in token? What is your fondest wish? Adhikavi shrugged. I've been cursed and blessed with curiosity. I'd ask only that I never lose it. Apart from that, as a matter of curiosity, I'd wish to know why Mahapura, so empty of people, is filled with their voices, and your palace with illusions. Illusions are made to be seen through, as you did, Jaya said, and the city is not empty. You have yet to see all that lies beyond your vision. As you will, be sure of it. You see the world as it is. Someday you will see it as it might be. As for you, Hashkat, Jaya said, hiding a twinkle behind a stern glance, I suspect you are as impudent now as when we first met. Even so, you've been punished long enough. Monkey, I restore you to your human shape. Hold on a minute, Hashkat broke in. I appreciate your kindness, but no, thank you. I've seen enough of humans and their doings. I'm happy as I am. I'll stay a monkey. What I might ask, what I've missed more than anything, Hashkat added, is my tail. If you could possibly arrange, your wish is granted. Hashkat twisted his head around and whooped with delight to see his tail, longer and more luxuriant than it had been before. And you, King of Sundari, and you, his beloved Gopi, what are your wishes? As for myself, Mary said with loving eyes on Tamar, all I could wish I have. I too, said Tamar, for my kingdom, I wish it to be happy, its people loving and merciful toward each other. I wish there to be an end of caste, a time when Chandala will be as honored and cherished as all others. Oh, I'm sorry, I cannot grant that wish, Jaya said. Only you and your Gopi bride, and those who come after you can make that come true. But you will not go empty-handed. One thing I give you. And Jaya went to a side table, took up a wreath of flowers, still fragrant and unwithered. I wove this, Mary murmured. I thought it had been lost. Only waiting for you, Jaya said. Set it now around your beloved's neck. These blossoms that you picked once will never fade. As Mary did so, Jaya turned to Rajaswami. Brahmana, what is your heart's wish? Why, I hadn't really given it much thought, Rajaswami answered. Since everything's come out on the bright side, I'm quite satisfied. All I could hope is to visit my dear colleague Jambavan again. So you shall, Jaya said. When the time comes, you will know it is the moment for you to go once more into the forest. You will find the bear's ashrama. He will be waiting for you, and there will you stay to your heart's content. And so shall you all, Jaya added. I built the ashrama for travelers like yourselves. Your paths will lead you there if you so desire. You, Tamar, and you, Mary, will find the island where you once danced. You will dance there as you did, and your hearts will ever be those of young lovers, forever then, forever once again. You know the verses we spoke to each other? Said Mary. Jaya smiled. I was the flute player in the shadows. He pressed his palms together. Go in peace. Namaste. One thing did occur to me, said Rajaswami. Only a passing thought, a triviality. I wonder, no, never mind. It's of no importance. On the contrary, said Jaya, I'd not let you leave without it. He went again to the table. Things that are lost have a way of turning up here, and I believe this is yours, he added, putting an object in Rajaswami's hands as the Acharya beamed with delight. It was his white umbrella. And that is the end of the book. I thought this was a very good book, but I like other books by Lloyd Alexander also. I have read at least 3 other books by Lloyd Alexander, and won't you consider reading some of his other books? Bye-bye.